Back at Allendale with David Marsh. We're talking pasture. David, what do we see here?
Right.
Maybe tell us about how old it is and what you're seeing, what succession you're seeing, and what development is taking place.
Okay, this area this is where there's quite a lot of these volunteer trees have come up. There's one just here behind us. So I've, over the last 5 or 6 years, whenever they've been stock in here, I've protected these trees with an electric tape so the cattle don't graze them. So there's a lot of biomass that grows every year, falls on the ground, and I just wanted to look at the soil surface to see how good it looks and how friable it is and how soft it is and how amazingly it can just accept a huge amount of water when it's in that condition. It's not hard. You know, when we were doing a lot of cropping, we used to walk in our paddocks and I used to say that the soil used to ring like steel under our boots, and now it feels like walking on eiderdowns. I think I might have said that before. But it's not necessarily a good thing to keep it in this undisturbed condition, really. You know, the natural world thrives on disturbance, but it's the rate of disturbance and the frequency of disturbance and the heaviness of the disturbance that dictates whether it's good or bad. So you can't do any harm if you put a lot of stock in here, which we will be doing in about a fortnight. They'll actually do a lot of good in here because they'll open it up and they'll create niches for other things to come in. It's actually quite hard for other species to enter this flourish world. It's such a competitive species, but we haven't put any inorganic fertilisers here for a long time, 18 years now. We are getting, there are species here that I can see that you can't see that are native species, hairy panic. There's also quite a lot of wallaby grass starting to appear in all our paddocks, and that's just happened. We haven't spent any money to do that. All we've done is allowed the plants time to establish and survive.
And David, how long has this been locked up for, this paddock, and when will you be putting stock in?
Okay, well I'm not absolutely certain, but it'd be something like 160 days since there were any stock in here. Now we've just been through probably it is the driest winter we've had since I've been here in 46 years. So it's amazing to think there are, you know, even in those dry conditions, there are green plants here. Now they all look pretty frosted, all this yellow growth you can see, or yellow leaves. That's a result of big frosts. But there's a bit of a microclimate when you've got a lot of height on the pasture, and also there's a lot of water being held in the landscape from last spring. It's still there, and that's why these plants are able to grow even though it's been incredibly dry.
And David, you sowed this pasture, I'm assuming, being introduced, and what was it like when you sowed it? As in, what species were here just after you sowed it compared to what you got now?
Righto. Well, it would have been flourish and cocksfoot and clover and a bit of lucerne and stuff like that. The lucerne used to drop out very quickly, and there's no lucerne here now. No, the flourish and cocksfoot, mostly flourish just where we are, but a lot of cocksfoot in this sort of area as well. Now it's a dilemma for people who get into this sort of management. You know, they often want to. It's very nice if you get species that evolved here starting to establish here without spending any money. That's a really exciting thing. I find it incredibly exciting. But it requires patience because it's a pretty tough world to get into for a lot of species in this sort of arena here where we are with the flourish. But we had 1 hectare of native pasture in 1999 when we started this, and now we've got lots of native species in every paddock now. Some of them we've added a bit of seed to try and kickstart it, but mostly they've just come in themselves as conditions have suited them.
David, thank you.
Thanks, Charlie.
To the next one.